Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Career Connection Chat, where you state the career and we make the connection. As always, I'm your host, Seth Lawrence, Delaware Military Academy, class of 2022. Love saying that. And welcome to Season 3. We made it. Season 3. Government Officials. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Season 3, Government Officials. With us today is the state of Delaware's Attorney General, Kathy Jennings. But why have me tell you about Kathy Jennings when you can see this upcoming video of her introducing herself and her 2021 legislative priorities for last year?
I'm Attorney General Kathy Jennings. Last year was difficult for all of us, but I am hopeful that 2021 will bring our country, our communities, and our neighborhoods back together. I'm also hopeful that it will give me the chance to see and hear from you. You shape the causes I fight for, and it's thanks to you and the incredible work that so many of you did that Delaware has made real change in the last 2 years. Together with the legislature and the governor, we made historic progress on criminal justice reform. We improved DOJ's charging policies to give low-level, nonviolent offenders the services they need, and for us to focus our resources on the most violent among us. We're reversing mass incarceration by diverting low-risk offenders to treatment. We sued Big Oil and Big Pharma to hold them accountable for the damage they've done to our state. We saved millions for Delaware consumers and taxpayers. We established and expanded a division of civil rights and public trust. We fought for voting rights both here and nationwide. We disbanded LLCs who used Delaware's corporate law to engage in criminal conduct. And when the Trump administration stepped over the line, we stepped in and won for Dreamers, women's rights, for the Postal Service, for our environment, and for the census. Now we're hard at work passing new reforms to protect our neighbors, our kids, and our elections. Here are 10 of my top priorities for 2021. 1. Require a permit to purchase firearms. There are too many guns on our streets, and it's too easy for criminals to get them. Owning a gun is a right, and it is a responsibility. That's why it's time to join red and blue states alike in requiring a permit and training to purchase a gun. Permit to purchase laws have been shown to reduce gun homicides by 40% and gun suicides by 15%. You need a license to drive a car. You ought to have one to buy a gun. 2. Ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. These are killing machines that have no place in our communities, period. 3. Regulate homemade gun kits that are playing increasing roles in Delaware shootings. 4. Fund body cameras for every officer in Delaware. I proposed 15 reforms in the wake of last summer's protest, starting with the call to put a body camera on every police officer in our state. Governor Carney included funding for body cameras in this year's budget proposal. And in the past year, our 3 biggest cities have all worked to put body cameras in their police departments. It's time for the first state to become the first state in America to equip every police officer with a body camera. 5. Create a consistent, objective use of force standard. Delaware law uses a vague, confusing standard for the line between legal and illegal use of force. The current standard is hard for police to use, hard for the public to understand, and hard for the Department of Justice to enforce. It's time to change it. 6. End cash bail. Delaware's bail system is not working. Nobody should be in jail just because of their poverty, and violent criminals should never walk free because of their wealth. It's time for us to end cash bail once and for all. 7. End excessive fines and fees. This is a modern-day debtor's prison. If we want to reduce recidivism, we have to end the senseless, vicious cycle of court fines and fees that rack up on people who are clearly unable to pay. 8. Outlaw unfair business practices. You may think it's illegal already, but Delaware is one of only 6 states that hasn't explicitly outlawed unfair business practices like coercive sales tactics or charging for services you did not request. That's not company we want to keep. The DOJ is Delaware's consumer protection agency, and we need the tools to fight for you. 9, secure our right to vote. We spent much of last year fighting unprecedented attacks on our elections. I even personally argued in court against a lawsuit to throw out nearly 80,000 ballots here in Delaware. So in 2021, I'm pushing every legislative effort to protect our elections and make it easier to vote. That includes expanding the right to vote early and to vote by mail, which the legislature and governor temporarily accomplished during the pandemic. 10, get guns out of polling places. A secure vote means voting free of intimidation. We must ban firearms at polling places, plain and simple. All of these are common sense policies that all of us should be able to get behind. Together, we can get it done, like so much we've already accomplished. So let's get to work.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to season 3 of Government Officials. With us today is Attorney General of the State of Delaware, Kathy Jennings. Ma'am, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm very happy to get to talk to you.
Likewise.
Could you explain to me and our viewers who you are and how you got to where you are now?
Sure. I'll give you the short version. I grew up in the city of Wilmington at 14th and DuPont Street in a small row house. My mom was a single mom. My dad left before I was born. Never met him, never paid child support. So we moved in with my grandparents, and every time I needed something or wanted something, the answer was, well, when our ship comes in. So that's a phrase I've never forgotten. But in all seriousness, my mom was my role model. She dusted herself off, and even though we lived in a neighborhood where there were no other single parents, she held her head high. She took the train to Philadelphia every day and got her nursing degree at the University of Pennsylvania. I knew right from that moment, I think I was about 5 years old when she got it, that there was nothing I couldn't do if I really tried hard. And even though she had a lot of tragedy in her life, she tried hard and she overcame the struggles and the setbacks. So that's my background. I thought I would be an English teacher when I graduated from college at the University of Delaware. I love reading books, but I decided to try law school because I had a huge interest in history and in civics and knowing how our laws get made and how they affect people. And when I started law school at Villanova, I frankly just fell in love with criminal law and with trial work. And that's what brought me to the Department of Justice.
And now you're Attorney General.
And now I'm Attorney General.
Awesome.
All these years later.
That's amazing. Now, what kind of characteristics would make a good person in this career field?
A number of characteristics would make someone a great person at the Department of Justice and as a future Attorney General. First, you have to really like public service, because each and every of the 500 plus employees who work here, no matter what their role is, when they get up in the morning and they come to our office, they feel like they're making people's lives better in our state. And I think that's a place to work where you don't get that feeling anywhere else. So, first you have to want public service. You have to feel it in your bones. Second, you have to be someone who likes to learn. We have so many areas of the law that we cover, from civil rights to criminal law to consumer fraud. to impact litigation like opioid litigation and going after environmental polluters, that you have to be a sponge and really absorb so many different areas of the law if you're going to help. The third thing is you have to be passionate. You have to feel that passion for the justice system, for fairness, for equality for everyone. And finally, you have to believe that no one is above the law or beneath justice.
That's amazing. I'm like, oh, so motivational. That was very great. Now, what are some of the day-to-day routines for someone holding a position of Attorney General?
Day to day, we uphold the rule of law, which means that in each and everything that we do in this office, it's important to realize that we are governed by a set of laws that lawmakers have enacted, that throughout history have led to the rule of law in the state of Delaware. And it's important for us each and every day to make sure that we are pushing forward those laws so that people in our state are safe, so that their civil rights, like the right to vote, is secure, and that if there is someone who is defrauding them, that we are protecting consumers. And that we are protecting most especially our state's children, who are the most vulnerable. We have laws and we have support mechanisms to help children stay safe, to stay protected, to keep families strong, and to make sure that our seniors are not taken advantage of.
That's amazing. And you guys are doing a great job. As a lifelong Delaware resident, you guys are doing a pretty great job.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Now, what are some of your favorite things to do in this career?
Meeting people. I love getting out in our communities throughout the state and meeting people and listening to what matters to them. Because then everything we do becomes real. And learning how I can best help someone in a time of crisis is my favorite thing, because we often see people, especially victims of crime, at their darkest moments when they've suffered a grievous loss, either a family member who has been killed or a child, heaven forbid, has been abused. And so we see people at really tough times in their lives. Being able to bring a measure of justice to them is very satisfying. And often we can't bring them to the place they were before this tragedy happened, before the violence happened. But what we can do is bring some degree of recompense, and that's very fulfilling.
That sounds like such an amazing feeling to do, just to kind of bring justice to families and all that. And that's something I want to do too. I want to be a prosecutor, I want to be a lawyer too. Maybe in Delaware, we'll see.
Oh, we have a lot to talk about.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited. But I have to ask, what are some of your least favorite things to do?
The hardest thing is to call the family of a murder victim and let them know that you're thinking of them, you're praying for them, and at the same time, you know you can never bring their family member back. And then there are cases where we're unable to proceed in the courtroom because in our justice system throughout the United States, we have to prove through admissible evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that someone is guilty. And there are times when we don't know who the perpetrator is. And there are times when, despite amazing police efforts, there is no arrest. So that lack of closure for people, I think, is among the hardest things.
That sounds like it could be a troubling weight. That's like a weighing thing that can be on a lot of prosecutors in the Justice Department. Now, our viewers, not a lot of people know a lot about the Attorney General, law, Department of Justice side, but they do watch movies and they do watch TV. So, what is one of your most accurate legal or movie TV shows, in your opinion?
I always believed To Kill a Mockingbird was one of the best movies ever made. It showed racism at its worst. It showed injustice at its most unjust. And I thought it portrayed the justice system as it existed then, and it was one of the motivating reasons why I became a lawyer. On the lighter side of the world, my cousin Vinny's awesome. and the cross-examination that he did in the courtroom, especially, with the line of sight, etc., was fantastic. But I confess that I watch Law and Order all the time. I have for, 20-some years. And, when they say it's ripped from the headlines, they usually have a plot that is somewhat akin to a real case.
Right.
And so I watch it.
It's funny because every lawyer I've talked to said my cousin Vinny, and I just find that really interesting. I gotta watch the show. I never saw it. I gotta watch it because everyone's saying it's really funny and it's very accurate. So I gotta look it out because a lot of people said that. So.
You will love it.
I hope so. I'm really excited to see it now. Now, this series is all about mentorship and connecting people with potential mentors for different careers. So, who was one of your mentors, and what was one of the best lessons they taught you?
So when I came to the Department of Justice, I joined the criminal division because, like you, I wanted to be in the courtroom. I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to make sure that people got justice. And so when I walked in the criminal division, there was one other woman in the entire state in the criminal division. It was a man's world, and it was a white man's world. And so that was a shock. Then there was the one other woman who had already been here when I joined, Lucy, who literally took me under her wing and taught me how to try a case. I prosecuted my first rape case with Lucy. And she mentored me every step of the way. I will never forget that. And I think it's so important for all of us as we go forward in our careers to help other people who are just starting out. So Lucy's the role model. It had been decades since I spoke to her, and I finally got her telephone number from a friend of mine, and we recently connected, and it just was wonderful to hear from Lucy after all these years.
That's amazing. It's always nice to connect with someone that kind of brought you who you are now. It's always nice to reconnect with them, and then you learn the lessons you learn from them, you teach someone else, and then that everlasting chain of mentorship and bringing people to who they are now and bringing them to success is always rewarding. So we always like to see people like yourselves mentoring young people, and also knowing that you had someone you started out that mentored you. So it's always nice to see that. Now, is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers or those interested in law or working in the Department of Justice, or for you working for Attorney General's office?
Yes, and I'll say it to you and to your viewers as well. Find your passion. Figure out what gets you up in the morning and gets you through the day that you absolutely love. Whatever that thing is, follow it in your career, because you will never work a day in your life if you do that. If you find your passion and along the way you stumble, because you will, or along the way you don't succeed at a thing because you don't win every case, dust yourself off like my mom did and get up and try again, and you will be a success. So that's my advice to everybody. Just find what you love and follow it throughout your career.
Absolutely. I second that. That's one of the big things why I want to become a prosecutor. I love arguing. You might as well get paid to do it, but I definitely want to promote justice in the world, and I think being in the legal field, whether it's prosecutorial or defense, I think it's just a great opportunity. Now, I'm excited because I get to present to you a DMA Challenge coin, officially as an alumnus, because I graduated there.
Congratulations.
So thank you so much. This is yours. And you can go ahead and click there too.
Thank you.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Attorney General, for coming out and doing this. We appreciate it a lot. Now, ladies and gentlemen, up next we have Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester in the next couple of weeks. Stay tuned for that. We're very excited. Ma'am, thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate everything you do for the state of Delaware. And thank you so much. It was great. It was great talking to you.
Well, thank you. And stay in touch. I want to hear how your own career path progresses. And one day, you'll be in the Department of Justice. I know it.
Again, thanks for watching Career Connection Chats. I hope you learned something great. I hope you learned something you want to teach other people. And if you want to be on our show, please email us at careerconnectionchats@gmail.com. And if you want to ask our guest speaker your own questions, please email at the email posted below. To see more, please visit our YouTube channel and share what you've learned.